Welcome back to another episode of Small Ball with Kenny Beecham. Man, I'm excited to do today's episode. I am just getting back home from an amazing shoot where we went to Bristol, Connecticut, the headquarters of ESPN Studios, and did a live reaction to the entirety of the first round of the playoffs. It was an amazing time. Me and my guys, we were joined by Brian Windhorst. So if you missed that, it's on ESPN's YouTube channel, I think. It was fun. All you need to know is fun. We ended up having like 35,000 concurrent viewers at one point, which is amazing. The only time I've ever had over 20,000 concurrent viewers on a live stream was when Patrick Williams was drafted 4th overall to the Chicago Bulls. That was a solo stream, just me being really sad about that. And I remember doing that, and I was like, man, what if Patrick Williams is still being really good, and now they could go back and look at this footage and me being upset? Here we are 5 years later. Kind of have an idea. The Bulls is drafted in back-to-back drafts. People that play his position, not that great. Anyway, so we do the entirety. We do the entirety of the first round. I am running on fumes. You know, we had been on set for a total of 5 hours, and I was ready to go back to the hotel because in just 2 hours' time, I had to wake up to catch my flight. And they said, no, Kenny, we got one more show to film. So we filmed that show. I get back to the hotel. I sleep for a few hours. I get on my flight, and normally I'm a guy that can sit down. As soon as we get to cruising altitude, the first 7 minutes of the flight, I can't sleep. But after that, I usually can sleep. Not this time around. I tell you all that to say, this might be a loopy episode, y'all. I ain't gonna lie to you. I am running on fumes today, but I knew this couldn't be another episode that we missed because we missed last week. My apologies for that. And the NBA draft is such an important place for NBA fans. This is where we all go in with the hope that we're going to draft the next whoever. Some of our teams hit last night. Some of our teams didn't. This is an amazing time, and this is going to be probably the most exciting or my best episode because there was a period of time in my life in covering the sport where I was so afraid to be wrong. We were doing Through the Wire back then, and we were trying to preview NBA playoff matchups, and I was like, no, I'm not picking anybody. I will give you what I think might happen, but I'm not going to say Celtics in 6 or Bucks in 7. I just didn't like that. I realized that guy's a jackass. Being wrong is something that is going to happen a ton in here, and I got some takes today. The NBA draft is a place you're going to be wrong more likely than not. You're trying to figure out if 18 and 19-year-old basketball players will turn out to be good players. Some of them we did an entire preview on, and they're going to get to the league and play nothing like what we just watched them play in college. The greatest example of this is our guy, Andrew Nembhard. Andrew Nembhard came in. I had to go back and rewatch. He did not come in as a plus defender. He did not come in as a guy that we thought was going to be guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in isolation and doing a good job. Everybody scouted him and thought that he wouldn't make it to the NBA level as a good defender, and now he's one of the best. I don't know these dudes' work ethic. I don't know where their brain is at. So, again, I say all that to say, I'm going to give you some takes today, and we're going to look back on this in 2 years and say, Kenny, you was bugging because this guy who you weren't high on ended up being great. This guy you were super high on is out of the league, and I'm okay to take those swings, man. I'm okay to take those swings. I don't want to start this video or this episode with Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper. We've known those two guys are going 1 and 2. I guess there was a little bit of buzz about what could happen number 2, but a lot of that died within the last week or week leading up to the NBA draft. The draft really starts at 3, but I still don't even want to talk about it there. The biggest thing that happened in this draft, in my personal opinion, is what the Pelicans did. The Pelicans. You know, I have been crowned a Pelicans hater by a small portion of Pelicans fandom. Little do they know Herb Jones has been one of my favorite players since he was drafted. Little do they know I'm a big Zion guy because I convinced myself that Zion was going to get drafted to the Bulls when they had an idea that they might get the first overall pick. We didn't get that pick, by the way. The Pelicans were so aggressive that when they pulled off the trade to trade up for the pick that ended up being Derek Queen, I didn't even really react to it on that live stream. I don't think anybody on the panel really recognized what the hell they gave up in order to draft Derek Queen. Shout out to D Queen. I'm rooting for him. He's a fan of the show. I hopefully will have him on one day. Really hope that he goes to New Orleans and he plays phenomenally and nobody really cares about what they gave up. So what they did is they traded up, right? They ended up sending a 23rd overall pick to the Atlanta Hawks, and they gave up a 2026 first-round pick. And when that dropped, again, we're doing this live stream, and Windhorst breaks the news that they traded a 2026 first-rounder. We didn't really think much of it until I got back to the telly and recognized the stakes that are attached to that pick. First of all, it is fully unprotected for 2026. And is the best pick between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Milwaukee Bucks. Are you kidding me? Joe Dumars got this job like 2 weeks ago, and he's already messing things up. This is an insane draft day trade. And I hope that people are talking about it this way because it really is an insane draft day trade. Because that 2026 first round pick that they just gave up, it's probably going to be their own. And I'm just basing it on the track record of the team. DeJounte Murray is already out with an injury, right? Get well soon, DeJounte Murray. Their star player, Zion Williamson, we know his track record. And they just traded for Jordan Poole, a young, okay to decent NBA player. They got 2 rookies in this year's draft. Trey Murphy is injured right now. I don't know if he's going to be ready for the start of the season. So that piece, like of all the things that were traded on draft night, that 2026 pick that the Atlanta Hawks acquired might be the cream of the crop, the crown jewel of the entirety of the draft. Isn't that nuts? Now they have to have the utmost amount of confidence that Derek Queen is the guy that he might be. Derek Queen's feel for the game is so great. And when it comes to drafting, I've usually been a guy that's team draft for feel, right? That's something that you cannot teach. We can teach some of this other stuff, but can this guy have a great feel for the game? I think that a lot of the people that ended up being on the Indiana Pacers team, that is a team full of great guys that feel their way around the basketball court very well. You know, some of the guys, I guess Pascal didn't have that early on in his career, but eventually I guess it is possible to develop now that I'm thinking about it. But that's one of the things that's the toughest thing to develop. Derek Queen, pretty good feel. Derek Queen, pretty good playmaker, pretty good play finisher at the big man position. But then you think about what the hell is going on with the rest of the team. Like if they just ended up with this pick and drafted Derek Queen, no problem. But the fact that you gave up that 2026 make me think that you about to be competitive next season. Are we relying on the young Derek Queen to get real PT? Are we relying on Jeremiah Fears to get real PT? I'm not personally a Jeremiah Fears guy. I can see it though. Like if he broke off in 3 years and was great, or 4 years was great, I understood where it comes from. As of today, not my type of prospect personally, but I can understand why he goes in this spot. So it's not a bad pick. It just was so mind-blowing. So mind-blowing to see them throw that pick in this trade. And on the flip side of that, oh my God, Atlanta. Atlanta just pulled off 2 trades that I absolutely love for them. I absolutely love both of the trades that they pulled off this last couple of days. The last one being them acquiring Kristaps Porzingis in the second round pick, trading away the 22nd overall pick to the Brooklyn Nets that ended up being Drake Powell. They trade away Terrence Mann's contract. They trade away George Niang in a second, but they get a flyer on Kristaps Porzingis and all of the things that people are reporting about Porzingis, that what he went through in the postseason and everything, or the entirety of the last season is gone. He's beat it, and now he's getting ready to hoop again, and he's looking good. So if that's the case, Porzingis is a good basketball player, y'all, on an expiring contract. Almost like a swing worth taking for just a 22nd overall pick, especially when you replenish that 22nd overall pick with a 23rd overall pick when you switch down, and then you get another pick in return. I just feel like Atlanta's out here willing and dealing. They're looking good. And they draft Asa Newell. And there's a clip that's going somewhat viral from the draft day with the Bulls were on the clock. I asked them to look at me, use camera 1 for me so I could say, do not draft Asa Newell. Out of context, I was telling the Bulls don't draft him at 12, but him being available at 23 and getting picked up here, actually, that's beautiful value for Asa Newell as a basketball player. Not only just that, he's a really good fit alongside Trae Young, who, like, your job as Asa Newell is to be a great energy guy, make some defensive plays. I think he's more of a defensive playmaker than a defensive big, if that makes sense. So make some defensive plays, catch some lobs, don't do anything out of the ordinary. He's going to be fine in Atlanta. That's a beautiful pick. I think that they might be the winners of the last 48 hours, because now they're looking at a team in the Eastern Conference that's wide open that you can squint and say, like, yeah. It also makes me feel like, how do I say this without it coming off the wrong way? With them acquiring Porzingis, with them acquiring that next year's first round pick, with them having Jalen Johnson back and Dyson Daniels will be there next season, and hopefully another great season or a step up season from Richase, that this kind of makes me feel like we're getting closer and closer, if it does not work, to the marriage in Atlanta being over, or the marriage with Trae Young in Atlanta being over. Now, I'm saying that if it does not work, because this team right now, at least on paper, is the best looking team they've built around Trae Young since 2021. And with Trae Young being up for a new contract very soon, and Porzingis being on an expiring deal, this makes me feel like, hey, it's Trae Young. We built this team around you that actually makes sense. Like some of the other Trae Young teams didn't make a lot of sense around him. You know where he is defensively. He's a competitor, but he's also my height and he's also my weight. So it's only so much he can really do. But now we got all defensive Dyson Daniels. We got Rishase, who again, I still don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. Sorry. Who projects very well to be a nice wing defender. Jalen Johnson can do that. And now we got Porzingis. And now we got Onyeka Okongwu. And, they got some like a decision or two more to make. Because I think I read this morning that they still have their trade exception that they could use to add another body onto the team. So this is, on paper, this could be the best looking Trae Young-led team since 2021. And with the Eastern Conference being as maybe bad or open as it can be, this could be their best chance to make it to the second round or their best chance to not play against the Bulls in the play-in for the 100th straight season. So I'm excited about Atlanta basketball. I know we had the question on the last episode 2 weeks ago when somebody asked me who was going to be the team to make the jump, and I was like, damn it, I'm not falling for the Atlanta Hawk propaganda again. After these last couple of trades, I'm kind of falling for the Atlanta Hawk propaganda. I'm just trying to figure out, like, again, you just have to be so very sure that Derek Queen is going to be really good. But even if he is, the player that he is versus the player that you have in Zion Williamson, I just don't know how much those two guys will be able to play on the same floor together in an equal winning defensive basketball. They're going to be relying on the young Jeremiah Fears to play some minutes, I would assume. They already got Jordan Poole. Like, of course, Herb Jones and Trey Murphy project to be really good defenders. I mean, not projecting with Herb Jones. That guy's really like that. I just don't know if they're going to have enough defensively to make it feel like that pick that they gave up is probably a lottery pick right now. They traded a future lottery pick to get the end of this lottery pick. And the 2026 draft is supposed to be, and we say this, I guess, every year before we actually know, it's supposed to be one of them ones. So did Atlanta just acquire a pick that could be Cam Boozer? Could it be AJ DeMonson? I don't know. I just realized there's something in my hat. So that was the most exciting thing and interesting thing that happened to me because Joe Dumars, his last hoorah as a general manager or a person that makes decisions didn't end very well. He built some good teams earlier in his GMing career, but I feel like when the game evolves, you got to get them old heads out of there. You know what? I'm thinking about another organization in the back of my head. You know what I'm talking about. You got to get them old dudes out of there. But they hired the new old dude after what he did with his last. I don't know, man. I don't like that at all. So yeah, my least favorite thing to happen for the Pelicans, my favorite thing to happen for the Atlanta Hawks. I think that one of the super interesting things, the Ace Bailey pick, Ace Bailey and his camp, not Ace Bailey himself, but his camp, because he said he had nothing to do with it. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there, even though I don't believe a damn thing there. Tried their very best to position themselves to end up in a different destination. Did not work out for the Utah Jazz. Basically was telling them, don't draft me. And Danny Ainge and his son, whose name I don't know just yet, decided to say, fuck it. Best player available, highest upside available. We don't care if he wants to be here or not. And it took Ace Bailey a long time to basically say, hey, I'm excited. It took him a long time to post anything on Instagram. He went black screen on Instagram. Going black screen for anybody born after 2000 means that they are going through some mental shit. He went black screen in the green room, dog. That's crazy. Anyway, they draft him. And this is what I will say. I can't be mad at the Utah Jazz for doing that. Because if you believe that he is the guy that can be an all-star, an all-NBA caliber player, we got to just take him. Taylor Hendricks, Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, all of these dudes that we've drafted in recent history, none of them are blue chip prospects. It's something that we mentioned like 6 months ago. None of these guys are blue chip prospects. And with them being as bad as they were last season, their first time really tanking, and for them to fall to number 5, for a guy that was projected to go 2-3, right, a few months ago, to be there at 5, you shouldn't care. You really shouldn't care. It's rare that we see a Steve Francis a thing where somebody gets drafted and he requests a trade immediately. You have to move him. There's going to be times where people don't want to go to your team. You're going to take him anyway, and damn it, he's got to hoop because that's his job right now. So you end up with Ace Bailey. Again, I don't know. I don't think I'm an Ace Bailey guy personally. I see the appeal. I see the upside for sure. The type of shots that he creates and makes are really difficult. But personally, he's not one of my type of prospects. But then they ended up later on in the draft at pick 18 getting a guy that I absolutely love. I think everybody loved Walter Clayton Jr. after what he did at Florida last year. Great story coming from Iona, if I'm not mistaken. Ended up in Florida. And he feels like a beautiful pick for them. And they were like, people on the panel, not our panel, but people were talking about like, they already got Isaiah Collier. They already got Colin Sexton. They already got Jordan Clarkson. I could not care less about that type of thing. If I'm a team not competing for a playoff spot at the bare minimum, I don't care about fit. I just don't. So if you believe that Walter Clayton Jr. was the best player available on the board, which looking at the people that were drafted after him, I'm not mad at that being the belief that you have, draft them and figure out the rest later. You're going to prevent yourself from drafting a guy you really like because Colin Sexton's on the roster. No disrespect to Colin Sexton. He's a really good ball player, but Colin Sexton might not be on the team 2 years from now. And now we missed out on the guy that we really like because of this dude who we don't even really, So I thought that was real fun. One of my favorite picks of the draft is pick number 6, Trey Johnson going to the Washington Wizards. Don't know if Trey Johnson's going to end up being the player that I think he could be, but damn, do I love his game. I really do love his game. And when you think about who is on the roster with the Washington Wizards, they need that type of player. They need him to fill himself out to be a go-to scorer because of the other guys, the young guys on the team, the Sars, the Koulibalys, the Georges, and all the other young people, Carringtons. We don't know if any of those guys, if I had to guess, I would guess that none of those guys are going to be 1A type of ball players, giving the ball late in the game. I think Trey Johnson has the type of upside as an offensive creator. He's still got some holes to fill as far as getting to the basket and finishing at the basket. He's still got to, tune up those playmaking things. But again, we're talking about with a 19-year-old dude. Like, he's so good last season as a freshman. And I don't know if those type of numbers come around very often, where I think he led the SEC in points per game as a freshman. So that is a really good get at pick number 6. And now, again, looking at the people that were drafted behind him, I really like his fit with the Washington Wizards versus anybody else behind him. Let's go up just one more pick. Con Knipple going pick number 4. I said this on the show, but, there was a time when I was really into baseball. I was playing shortstop at Harvester Park. And then Petey came to the team, and he was good, and he moved me over to second. I ain't never forgive him for that. Coach used to say, kiss. Now, whoa. He used to say, not to me and teammates, but just in general, kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. When you get a ground ball, keep it simple, stupid. You ain't got to do nothing flashy. Keep it simple, stupid. Routine double play. Don't try to act like you like that on the base pass, man. Get it to second, then get it to first. I feel like that is exactly what the Charlotte Hornets ended up doing. They kept it simple. I think of all the guys drafted in this range, Con Knipple has one of the highest floors. And after last year, where they drafted Shajan Salan, a really big upside pick, after they did that, I think they needed something and somebody that feels like a good concrete piece that may not have the same upside of Ace Bailey or may not have the same upside of Jeremiah Fears or Trey Johnson, but he just feels like a really good building block for what that team can need right now. They don't need any more swings. So let's go get a guy that we know after he did what he did in the ACC tournament, where he can be a on-ball creator as well, but we know that just jump shooting, some of the best in the class, if not the best in the class. Projects very well at the NBA level. Competitive defensive player, which is something we say about all the white players. Competitive defensively. I really like their pick. And then at the end of the first round, I think they ended up with Liam McNeely as well, who I'm a lot less high on, as many people are. As you see, he dropped to 29. But I think that him shooting 31% in college, I don't think that's who he is as a ball player. I think that when he gets to the NBA, he's going to be a real three-point shooter. I think he was overtaxed with UConn's offense as they didn't have much going on in this year after winning back-to-back national titles, where he didn't really have a point guard necessarily, where they asked him to create more than he would ever really be asked to do at the NBA level. So I really like what they did in this year's draft. Sometimes I feel like drafting a guy that projects to just be in the league is enough. Now, maybe you don't like that at pick number 4. That's understandable. Pick number 4 may be the ones where you want to go get a superstar player. But there are a lot of guys that were drafted that I'm just like, damn, that's a good pick, mostly because I think that Cedric Howard is going to be in the league for a very long time. And the fact that it was the Memphis Grizzlies that picked him up makes me believe that even more. He was my number one favorite player in this year's draft. Hopefully, they'll come back to bite me. I mean, he played 6 total games last year in college before he went out with an injury. Before that, he was playing at a smaller school. And before that, he was playing D3. So it's not like this dude has a huge track record of playing against elite competition. But the jump shooting looked real. The defense looked real. And that is enough for me to think NBA player. And he's going to Atlanta. And we know, he's going to Memphis. And we know Memphis is just really good at talent evaluation when it comes to the draft. So not only did Memphis get this pick, they traded up to get this pick. They gave up one of the picks they got in the Desmond Bane trade because they believe so much in this guy. And I look at that team, again, no Desmond Bane. It's like Ja. This is what their core looks like now. It's Ja. It's Wells. It's Cedric Howard. It's Jaren Jackson Jr. I kind of like what's going on. Maybe not enough for me to think that they about to do something special this next season, but I really do believe that Cedric Howard is going to be a real NBA player for a long time. It may take him a little bit. Again, he's going from Washington State, where he played 6 games, to the NBA, to the goddamn NBA. But he has an NBA body, and they said that he's already going to start putting on even more muscle. He's listed at 6'5" and some change and 213, and they're saying he's going to put on even more. So like, beautiful, beautiful pick. Brooklyn came into this draft and drafted everybody. And drafted everybody. We knew how many picks they had going into the draft. By all accounts, they attempted to trade up. They really had their eye on certain people. They attempted to trade up. They failed. I wonder if they attempted to trade out. Once we got to pick 26 and 27, and we already selected 3 other rookies, do they try to trade out for somebody else's maybe least favorable 2026, 2027 pick, just so you could get more bites of the apple next year and the year after that? I don't know if they tried that, but them walking out, they're kind of a laughing stock of what people believe on Twitter right now. They walked out with Yeager Demon, Nolan Triore. I'm using these fingers to count how many point guards, by the way. Keep that in mind. These fingers are counting point guard play. We'll say Nolan Triore, Ben Serif. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. And then Danny Wolf, who's like kind of a point guard. They went out there and just drafted. And it kind of feels like they were like dartboarding stuff. And then they kept showing, Windhorst was having a good time with him showing the war room for the Brooklyn Nets and them clapping and being excited about every pick that they end up having. I just don't know what to believe. Yeager Demon, he did his interview after he was drafted. He has the exact mindset I would want for him to have. He recognizes what his flaws are, and he is really excited to get better around the edges. But I wouldn't have been surprised if he would have been there 12, 15 or so. 6'8" point guard, played very well and is a pick and roll ball handler. But this is something I may have mentioned on the show before that I'm struggling with here in Chicago. When you have a guy, and again, we're talking about Yeager Demon, who is 19 years old, who has the whole future of his career ahead of him. When you have a guy where his best attribute is his playmaking, but more specifically his on-ball playmaking, but also he cannot shoot and he cannot self-create, you're hindering your offense, right? No matter how good of a passer you are, if you are not a personal threat to create something for yourself, then your passing will never be super elevated. And I feel that way about Giddey, and hopefully he's in that goddamn lab, getting to the point where his jump shot is faster and that he can hit a step back or a side step or whatever it may be, a spin move jumper, I don't know, where he can go in and create for himself a little bit more, because that's the only way where a guy like Yeager Demon or a guy like Josh Giddey will have a real successful NBA career. I mean, the alternative is him learn to play off the ball, but I feel like at this point in their careers, do you expect Yeager Demon to go to Brooklyn and now play the 3? I mean, I guess it's possible, but I highly doubt it, because you don't draft him as a 3. You draft him because of his playmaking feel. You draft him because of his size at the point guard position. You also drafted other guys for. This is something Brooklyn has done over the last couple of years, by the way. They drafted guys who before the draft process were projected high and may have failed. I remember a year ago, almost exactly, when people were doing the 2025, way too early 2025 mock draft. Nolan Triore was projected to go top 5. He had a pretty bad year overseas. could not hit a jump shot, struggled on a lot of things on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. So he failed, right? So he failed. But they took a shot. Because once upon a time, he was really high. So maybe we can get that potential out of him. They did the same thing with Drake Powell, who they also drafted or traded for the pick. Oh, this is the Atlanta Hawks. Every single pick after 13 got traded, by the way, to somebody else. Drake Powell came into UNC as one of the top recruits and had a year at USC that wasn't too spectacular, but he was a good defender, hit his shots, which I thought was pretty impressive, but he fell all the way to 22. And you think to yourself, hey, the hype that he had coming out of high school, maybe we can turn that into something. And we've seen it be successful before. We've seen players have bad one-year deals in college or overseas, and that wasn't who they really were, and they ended up maximizing their potential. Maybe one of these guys is that. I don't know. I actually like Drake Powell a lot. I actually think out of all of the picks they had, I like the Drake Powell pick more than any of the other ones, because the only thing I don't like about Drake Powell, as far as like what his role would be at the NBA level, which at this point would be like a 3-and-D wing, his jump shot is really slow. A lot of the looks that he got at UNC were wide open with like 3 seconds to set his feet, get the ball on the seams. I don't know he might get the opportunity too in the NBA level, but you just want his jump shot to be faster. But I trust him defensively already at this young age. I mean, it may take some time to get used to the NBA physicality, but I think that he's going to be a really good defensive player. It's just, can we speed up that jump shot? I don't know anything about Ben, the 6'6" point guard out of Israel, so I will refrain from talking about him. And then Danny Wolf. Oh my God, the Danny Wolf family. Were they not one of the stars of last night's telecast? Where his brother, I'm assuming, we didn't have sound in the studio, so I'm going to assume it was his brother. They looked almost identical. His brother is boohoo crying, and his mom is boohoo crying. They're crying so much that the next pick had been selected, Hugo Gonzalez, who wasn't there, and they was like, here's 1 minute of Hugo Gonzalez highlights. Let's go back to the Wolf family, see if they still cry. Yep, they're still crying. I don't know what Danny Wolf looks like at the NBA level. He's got one of the best college mixtapes you'll see from somebody that's not above the rim. But how much would that translate at the NBA level is really a question. So people don't like this draft pick or this draft class for them. And they took a lot of shots. And in my mind, it's like, they couldn't go 0 for 5, right? Ain't no way in hell they went 0 for 5, right? Only time will tell. I thought it was interesting. Kyler Murray-Boyles going number 9. I think the Raptors did an amazing job smokescreening all of us. In my mind, it was either Noah Asenge or it was going to be Kamen Maluwach. They said, nah, we're going Kyler Murray-Boyles, which is a surprise to me. I really like Kyler Murray-Boyles as a prospect. I mean, it's all going to boil down, whether he sticks in the league and becomes more than just a rotational player, it's all going to boil down to the jump shooting, obviously. The feel for the game is amazing. The playmaking is really good for his position. He is a great defensive playmaker. He can switch onto a lot of positions. He can guard fives. He can guard some smaller wings. He's pretty damn dynamic on that side of things, which is exactly what Masai Ujiri loves. Masai loves him, a dude that can play multiple positions and got good feel, and Murray-Boyles has that. I'm struggling to figure out exactly what the hell the Raptors look like next season. I did see a clip of Kendrick Perkins saying the Raptors are about to be in the playoffs and making some noise. I don't think I'm there just yet. I got to see what else happens, because they were in rumors to trade for Kevin Durant a little bit. They were in rumors to maybe pop off RJ Barrett. So we don't know exactly what their final roster will look like. I do think some of his skills, Kyler Murray-Boyles, I'm going back to, are kind of redundant to some of the other players on the roster. But maybe, again, we don't know if those same players will be on the roster come October when the season starts. So we'll wait and see. I thought he was going to be a guy that's going to be available at 12 for the Bulls. He was not. Speaking of the Bulls, Noah Asenge. When I was doing my research, again, looking at every single mock that exists, whether it be Yahoo, The Ringer, No Ceilings, I feel like I'm missing some really good, talented people out there. CBS. I just did like a cumulative, these are the guys that people project to be in the range of 12. And I was breaking down Sorber, Derek Queen, Kyler Murray-Boyles, Jaeger Demon. I was breaking down Joanne Beringer. I was breaking down all of these dudes that might have been available, Yakashonis. And the guy that I liked the most was Noah Asenge. And it didn't have a lot to do with his actual production, which is fucking nuts to say aloud. In my mind, pick 12 is not going to have many guarantees. right? I look at the people drafted behind him. Listen, Derek Queen has the ability to maximize his ceiling, and we look back and be like, damn, Derek Queen was one pick away. Carter Bryant is a guy that my boy D. Millie absolutely loves. I don't know what his full ceiling is as an NBA player. Sorber, who went to OKC, which is such an amazing pick for OKC, was projected to go in this realm as well. The reason why I like Noah Senge for the Bulls, at least a month and a half ago, had a lot to do with taking the swing. Taking the swing. And in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we can look back and say, fuck, I wish they didn't take the swing. But there's something about the unknown. And that the unknown would get me fired as a GM. I won't lie to you. When you see a 6'10", 204-pound guy that's playing overseas in the German league, and granted, stats ain't amazing. Some of them are definitely inflated by the competition. I mean, his free throw rate in Germany is not going to translate to the NBA. No way in hell he's going to get to the NBA with the whistles that we get versus where they get. But there's something really intriguing about a 6'10" player with all of these tools. So I understand the pick. And then, again, they asked me on the panel, like, who would you rather have in the spot? And I was like, nobody. So in that case, I guess I'm okay with it. If he was drafted almost any other place, I probably would like it more. But knowing what the Bulls have done in player development, that's the thing that scares me, right? They have not done an amazing job, have not done even a good job in player development on any of the guys that they've drafted recently, right? Patrick Williams in the 2020 draft. We can go on for like, I'm not going to fault them on Dalen Terry. Shout out to our boy DT. I'm not going to fault them on Julian Phillips. Like, those guys are, 16th overall picks and second rounders or so. But when they have had lottery picks in recent history, they've really struggled to develop them. And some of them are previous regime, right? Larry Marketing pick 7, Wendell Carter pick 7. Both of those guys went to different teams and had a better career, even though Wendell had a bad season. Kobe White was a lottery pick, and he's finally doing some great stuff after the last year, but it took him some time. So our previous lottery picks really struggled to blossom. The only guy that really gives us a lot of hope is Modest Buzelis. And I don't think the development that we saw from him the entire season, maybe this is disingenuous, but what I was going to say, I think that's more about him. Like, from the moment we met him, before he was even a Bull, he was telling us, I am the best player in this draft. Like, that's a mindset thing more than it is like, oh, I got the best shooting coach in the world. Oh, I got the best strength and conditioning coach. I think he really wants to be number one. And that's what's carrying him after that rookie season. Even now, he put on some more muscle and everything. So I don't hate the Noah Senge pick. I did get some texts from family members saying, like, yo, it had to be D Queen. I'm okay with it not being D Queen. And maybe I'll look back on this and say, damn, Kenny, you were a fucking idiot for saying that. But right now, I don't hate it too much. Let's go back up, because I don't know how I've got 30 minutes into the show without mentioning the Phoenix Suns draft. Yo, they have been the butt of a lot of jokes. A lot of jokes the Phoenix Suns have after trading all of their capital in their future for Kevin Durant. And then the Kevin Durant thing not working. They trading him away for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, and picked him. Yo, what a draft for them. I'm not a big Mark Williams guy, I will say that. But Mark Williams is definitely better than the last couple centers they've had in Phoenix. And because Mark Williams is not guaranteed anything, you can also take another center, in this case, Maluach, who, even if he went to the Raptors or he went right after this to, I don't know, Memphis or the Blazers, whoever had the pick right after, he was not going to be a guy that was going to come in and play 30 minutes per game. He just didn't. I don't think his condition is going to be ready at that size. So they go get another center who, whether it be his conditioning or his back or his health, he struggles to stay healthy. But another center is just better. And it's kind of like maybe Mark Williams is the bridge the gap guy until Maluach is ready to really play. All things considered, again, in a vacuum, I really did like what they did. And I think they traded up one more time for a second-round pick, which is great because they just don't have a lot of forwards on the roster. I would guess that with the pick they take tonight will be a forward. I don't know who that guy will really be. But the Suns just did some stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now, not enough for me to be like, oh, here we go. They're coming back, but like, having a legitimate center, and again, I'm not the biggest Mark Williams guy, but like having a center better than Nick Richards and better than Yusuf Nurkic, who you had last season, is a win. And drafting a guy at 10, who a lot of people thought could have went as high as 7, he was projected to go around 7. To get him at 10 is pretty good. And I'm a Maluach fan, even though I can't fucking pronounce his name. The reason I'm a fan of his is because I just like a center that defends. And listen, his defense right now, what we're talking about is we're projecting his defense because it ain't like he's coming into the league as Rudy Gobert or anything like that. But he has the tools to be kind of scheme versatile. And I like that about a center. And there's a few centers that were drafted today that do not have that. There's one center that has a lot of that, and that's Thomas Sorber. But I really like what Phoenix did in a vacuum with the Kevin Durant assets that they got back. I think it's going to be interesting at the bare minimum. While we're here talking about this 2025 NBA draft, I want you to look over to FanDuel Sportsbook because they already got the odds of the Rookie of the Year. As you can imagine, Cooper Flagg, the number one pick in this year's draft, has a minus 190, which makes a ton of sense because he's going to have opportunity very early on. In theory, that team should be at least decent enough to turn some heads, and he's going to get the ball in his hands more than he would have if Kyrie Irving was healthy. Get well soon, Kyrie Irving. Can't wait to see you back on the court with this team. He is the real deal. Everybody knows that he is the real deal. But after that, Ace Bailey at plus 850 makes a ton of sense because in Utah, there's not going to be a lot of people that's going to prevent him from getting the shots that he wants. Then you got Trey Johnson, again, one of my favorite picks in this year's draft, a similar situation. They got some veterans over there that may tone it down just a little bit, but he might be able to come in and average a good amount of points. You got Dylan Harper at plus 1200. Like, Kenny, how was that so low? Well, a good point guard room between Cassell and Fox. So we got to see what Dylan Harper's role ends up being. VJ Edgecombe is plus 2,500, and that makes sense as well. You know, at the bare minimum, he's the fourth option in his rookie season. It feels like a stretch even then. And then you got Derek Queen at plus 3,000. A guy that's not on the board right now, at least not what I just read. I really like Walter Clayton Jr. there. If it's going to be a guy that's going to be a gamer and steal the Rookie of the Year, it might be him. So again, go to FanDuel Sportsbook. Go ahead and make a bet if you're so inclined to do so and play safe. Let's go back to the draft here because picks 14, 15, and 16 were great and then surprising. 14 pick in this year's draft is Carter Bryant. Shout out to my guy. What a good pickup that is for the Spurs who walk out with now Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant. You know, the tough part I had about Carter Bryant is that he didn't play a ton at Arizona, but when he played, you could tell he was super impactful. All the advanced stats loved when he was on the court. And then he had the good defensive feel. He had the finishing. He has a lot of things that will translate well to the NBA. But based on where he was projected to go before he ended up at 14, I was like, is that the right situation for him to maximize himself? He's in the right situation. He will never, ever be asked to do more than what he's able to do. And I love that for him. I think that the Spurs walk out as big-time winners with pick 2 and pick 14. The other big-time winner, Thomas Sorber and the OKC Thunder. You know, we were doing the show, and we were trying to predict picks at this point. And I'm like, the only guy that makes sense to me is Sorber because I'm thinking about, you can't think about OKC for 2025, 2026 when it comes to the draft. Their roster is pretty much set. You got to think about them trying to project 2 years down the line. When Isaiah Hartenstein's contract is up and then J-Dub contract is in and Chet Holmgren's contract is in, they won't be able to retain Isaiah Hartenstein to the same evaluation they got him in right now. So what if we draft a guy who's coming off a foot surgery, but they said he's doing okay? We draft a guy that we just let chill and learn from Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. And once Isaiah Hartenstein's contract is up, it's time for Thomas Sorber to come in and play. I really liked him as a player. If it wasn't for the foot injury, I would have loved him at pick number 12. I'm just always scared of a big fella with a foot injury, regardless of the severity of it. But he is, you know, some of these other centers like a Yang or Hanson Yang or, you know, some of the other centers that got drafted, they're definitely going to be scheme specific. You're going to see them run a lot of drop coverage. I think Sorber has the defensive tools with his quick feet, quick hands to play switch, to play at the level, to play a lot of different things when he gets to the NBA and actually getting real rotational minutes. So I think this is such a steal. He was an absolute stud at Georgetown last season. I thought he was going to find his way into the lottery and obviously fell just right outside it. Pick 16, Hanson Yang. That was the first whoa of the draft, where, you know, some people gave him late first round grades. Some people gave him early second round grades. He played very well in the 5-on-5 scrimmages leading up to the draft. And that was enough. We're going into a new era, ladies and gentlemen. We're going into a new era. After Giannis was drafted and he blossomed onto the scene, he won Most Improved Player and eventually went on to win DPOYs and MVPs. Teams started to take swings to draft the next Giannis. And I feel like every year we're getting that. The Bulls just did that. The Bulls just tried to draft the next Giannis. Last year, Tazan Salon, all these guys are French, Last year, they tried to draft the next big project that could be a stud one day. Everybody wanted to draft Bruno Caboclo, Thon Maker, right? You hit on that archetype of player. You're trying to do it again and again and again. Hanson Yang is the first Jokic archetype that people are trying to get. And that's nuts because Jokic really, truly is a one-of-one. Same thing with Giannis, don't get me wrong. As you can see, all the guys I just mentioned have no business being in Giannis conversations, but they got drafted based on profile that could be Giannis. Hanson Yang is the first. They call him Chinese Joker. That's nuts. He does have good feel. He does have good passing. He got drafted at pick 16 to a team that has 4 other centers on the roster. Now, some of those centers you don't give a damn about. DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Deuces. If we can get rid of you right now, we would. But having back-to-back years where you draft a center in the lottery, it's interesting. I'm curious to hear, and maybe they already did their because the Bulls, and I guess a lot of different teams do this post-NBA draft media thing. I wonder if they did theirs already over there with Joe Cronin and so on and so forth. But I would love to hear the rationalization of that, right? Donovan Clingan projects to be a really good defensive player in the NBA. At the bare minimum, defensively, he's going to be really good, especially when he gets conditioning done. Do you see a world where they play together occasionally? Did the Steven Adams, Alperen Şengün thing make teams think that they need to go double bigs or have the option to go double bigs? Referring to that question that we were asked 2 weeks ago again, which team do we think can make a big jump next season, surprise people? My team was the Portland Trail Blazers. I'm not taking that away because they did a trade for Jrue Holiday, which I think is pretty interesting. But whoa, what a pick. The biggest surprise. And it's so much surprise that nobody really knows what to think just yet. Nobody know. Oh, wait. Let me see. I'm looking at ESPN's official site. I thought these were grades. It said C for Yang. It said C for Sorber, F for Carter Bryant. They're standing for center and forward. I thought they were graded. I'm like, F Carter Bryant. What the hell are they talking about? Nobody knows to believe about it. And I don't either because I only saw the highlights, just like everybody else. I only saw the highlights of what he did in those scrimmages. Don't ask me about his Chinese Basketball Association highlights because I don't know where they land, that league lands when it comes to level of competition. Is that even higher than the German league that Noah Sengay just played in? I have no idea. Like, before we get out of here are some of my other favorite picks at the end of the first round. Jace Richardson going 25 is perfect. Absolutely perfect. If he was 2 inches taller, 3 inches taller, he would be one of my guys. Unfortunately, he's a super undersized guy. And I just feel like based on what we've seen over the last couple of years, the lack of size is a real deterrent as teams continue to pick you apart when it comes to the postseason. But if there's any place that can make up for the fact that he's super undersized, it's the Orlando Magic. A team that needs shooting, they need spacing, they need creation. Jace Richardson provides majority of that as a rookie. And then his dad played for the team, which is also pretty fucking fire. So I think they have one more pick in this year's draft. I wouldn't be surprised if they went with another shooter. I would love for them to end up with can you tell I'm running out of gas? Maybe you can't. I'm running out of gas. Chaz Lanier or Kobe Brea, one of the 2 great shooters that are still available on the board. Just keep adding shooting, and because even if these guys don't hit, you took the swing on some shooting, something that is desperately needed for your team. I already mentioned the Ace Anua at pick 23, beautiful, especially with the player that he's with. And then lastly, at pick 20, Kasparas Giannis. I watched a lot of Illinois basketball this season, man, and he was very far from the perfect point guard prospect. I will say that again. He was very far away from the perfect point guard prospect. But for him to fall to pick 20 to the Miami Heat, I think that is a real blessing for Miami as they, wanted to get Walter Clayton Jr. by all reports. He ended up going 18. This is not a bad consolation prize. I think a lot of people are looking at him and his turnover rate and so on and so forth and acting like he is a finished product because he turned the ball over a lot. No, I truly do believe there's real upside there. And based on everybody else that was going after him, if you wanted to take a swing for some upside at the point guard position, there's nobody else on the board that even comes close to upside when it comes to Giannis. So I'm going to give old man Pat Riley the first thumbs up in 4 years. No, let me chill. Nick Clifford was a pretty good pickup for the Sacramento Kings who trade up into this year's draft to get him. Really like Nick Clifford as a player. Just don't know what the hell is going on in Sacramento as far as what his teammates look like when the season starts. but really good pickup for him. So let me reiterate the picks that I didn't like. I didn't like pick 8, Jaeger Demon. I'm questionable on pick 7, Jeremiah Fears, but I could squint my eyes and understand it. He reclassified. He's one of the youngest dudes in the draft. I just don't like a point guard that can't finish or can't shoot. Am I crazy? He is 18, so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Thumbs up, but no, it's like a thumbs this way because I don't know what to believe just yet. I hated what happened at pick 13. Not the player that they selected, but the fact that they traded the future first-round pick for pick 13. Who else? That might be it. And yeah, that might be it. Yeah, everything else is cool. I don't know anything about Hugo Gonzalez or Yannick, the guy that got drafted by the Clippers. I know he had a good workout as well. That's all I know. So I can't have a grade on that. But that's the first round of the playoffs. So yeah, I'm out of it. First round of the draft. Let's get to some Ask KB. You can hit us up on Twitter. You can hit us up on Instagram. We're always accepting questions, and it is my favorite part of every single show. Let's see what we got.
What's up, Kenny? Been watching you for about a decade. Love the content. My question is, if you could hang out with any 3 NBA players from any era, who would they be and why?
It's a great question. Am I hanging out with them at the same time? Or I'm on Monday, I'm here. On Tuesday, I'm here. On Wednesday, here. I'm going to answer a question that way because I think it's a lot cooler to say, I'm going bowling with so-and-so. I'm going to play 18 with Michael Jordan. I'm going to play 18 with Michael Jordan. I'm going to gamble with him. Nope, I take that back. What the hell am I talking about? He's a billionaire. What am I talking about? Gambling with Michael Jordan. I'm going to play 18 with MJ. And I ain't even go fan out. You know what I'm saying? I just want to play. I just want to hit the greens, hit the links. You know what I'm saying? Putt very well and showcase that I could be one of his golf buddies. I will have a few questions, but I'm not gonna jump in like, oh my God, I'm a huge fan of Michael Jordan, because everybody's a huge fan of Michael Jordan. So I feel like you say that, he's like, okay, so is that guy and that guy. But I would love to go golf with MJ. I'm hanging out with Allen Iverson. Don't give a damn what we do. I just don't care. He is by far, he was the coolest basketball player ever when I was a kid. I am 28 years old, and I still have not seen a player as cool as Allen Iverson. Even in his old age, and he just turned 50. Happy birthday to Allen Iverson a few weeks ago. He is still top 3 coolest people to ever exist in the history of mankind. He just is. It's just for him to put it all on the court. I remember watching like an AI documentary, and they were like, man, AI, why you be wearing all these arm sleeves and elbow sleeves? And he's like, here's why. And he pulled down the sleeves. You saw all the bumps and bruises from this 6-foot point guard going against fucking Shaquille O'Neal, getting knocked on his ass. Coolest dude ever. And even now, he met Cooper Flagg, and he was like, cool, he the real truth. You're Allen Iverson. You don't have to show him that love, but you do anyway. And that's why I would love to hang out with you. I met him once, but that was it. Third one. Like even my GOAT, Chris Paul, I'm completely okay with not hanging out with Chris Paul. You know what I mean? It would be cool to meet Chris Paul, talk to Chris Paul, but I don't want to go bowling with Chris Paul. I'll say that. If you invite me, I will go. But I'm not. After that, I think it'd just be cool to meet Bron in any capacity. When Cash just did it a few weeks ago, I feel so good for Cash Nasty, man. I ain't gonna lie. Cash has been one of my guys for a long time. Me and Cash went clubbing together in Cleveland. And he's always been just a LeBron guy. So for him to meet Bron, and not just meet Bron embraced him. You know how nervous I would have been? Because I'm sure Bron ain't seen all of the Cash Nasty clips now. Cash Nasty has done some crazy stuff with LeBron James's name, with his face on some covers on his bed. So for Bron to embrace him, W Bron. That's my Twitch streamer chatter. W Bron.
Hey Kenny, if you could change the trajectory of one player's career, not including Derrick Rose, who would you pick?
Change the trajectory of one player, but not Derrick Rose. Hey, what if Patrick Williams was Kawhi Leonard? You know, you get drafted on measurements, you get drafted on size, you get drafted on your hands, you get drafted on your calves, and What if he was? No, I don't want to stay super biased to Chicago, but that was the first thing that came to mind. I truly believe that pick set us back so far because it's not likely or often that you jump up into top 4. And Halliburton was sitting on the board and he wanted to play for Chicago and he didn't. So Patrick Williams changed his trajectory to end up being the guy that we thought he could be. Other than that, I don't know, man. I think a lot of my favorite players ended up having the careers that I want them to have. It would be easy for me to say, man, I wish that David Stern didn't veto my Chris Paul trade because boom, Chris Paul has a ring with Kobe, that type of stuff. I don't care enough to try to do something like that. My mind also goes to injuries, right? I really liked Greg Oden when I was a kid, him and Mike Conley at Ohio State. So maybe it's like, let's just see what the big fella had to offer if he never really got injured. Just feel the same way about a lot of different injuries. Brandon Roy had provided a lot of good years in the NBA before his big-time injuries. Sean Livingston, Illinois' very own. Those a couple things. Patrick Williams. I'm going back to Patrick Williams. Yep, Patrick Williams. Let's make Patrick Williams the guy. And yeah, who knows what will be happening in Chicago right now. All right. That's the end of today's episode. I want to say thank y'all so much for listening to me ramble about a draft without me being a draft expert or anything even close to that. I cannot wait to look back on this episode and be like, yeah, Derek Queen is really top 3 now. So who cares if they gave up that first round pick in 2026? I don't know. I do want to say, as we wrapped up the 2024-2025 season, that I say this a lot, but I truly do appreciate everybody that has watched, consumed any of my content over the last couple of years. Y'all have made a dream come true. The fact that we were in Bristol in the same studio where SportsCenter shot and did a live coverage with Brian Windhorst of the draft is so nuts to me. And I definitely don't take those type of things for granted. And we got a tour. Brian Windhorst gave us a tour of the entire facility in Bristol. And I'm already a guy that wants it more than most people, I would say. Nothing made me want it more than walking through those studios and being like, fuck, bro. This could be reality for me if I keep my foot on the gas. And I don't know if that means ESPN or what. I'm just saying in general. Because right now, what this show you're watching right now is in an office space, right? These lights that we have on, they're just key lights. And this camera is just one that we bought. It's like there's so much more that can be done in this space from me. And I want it. I hate that I got that tour at the end of a season, right? So I got a whole off season to kind of just think about how we could be better to make that a reality. I wish I'd got that in October leading up to this season. I feel like I would have been able to produce better content, but yeah, man. I don't get that tour. I don't get that show. Nobody cares what you think unless people are listening. And y'all are listening, and I appreciate that. I will not be going to Summer League this year. I've been getting a lot of questions about Summer League. Me and my wife are expecting our second child around that time, so it's better be safe than sorry. So sorry, Noah Singay, I won't be there when your first official game is a Bull. Like I've been there for the last, 7 years of Bulls picks. The guys might still be there though, so they might have something cool for people that are still a fan of NOTB. I probably will take a little bit of a break, as we gear up for baby number 2. We'll see. Because this is 1 hour a week, right? We'll see. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.